guys, I'm back again today with another reaction video, and today we're checking out Spanish-American War Explained. Ooh, okay, we're gonna find out what this is about. Before we do start, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Click that bell button to get notified whenever I do upload a video. So guys, let's check this out. If you have any recommendations of videos that you want me to check out, leave them in the comment section down below so that we can check them out. Let's do this.
When William McKinley became the President of the United States in 1897, he presided over a country that was getting a little bit upset. What was it upset about? Well, it was the island to its south, Cuba, which at this point was a Spanish colony, and was also rebelling against said Spanish rule. This rebellion kicked off in 1895 and had some pretty unfortunate timing. I mean, rebellions are always pretty badly timed for those being rebelled against, but it coincided with the unfortunate timing. I mean, rebellion.
Whoever this animation, we have the same hair, the curly on the edges and then the bun, you see. Maybe that's
are always pretty badly timed for those being rebelled against, but it coincided with the spectacular rise in American nationalism. When these ideas were combined with the stories about Spanish cruelties in Cuba, the
What are you talking about?
Nationalism. When these ideas were combined with the
Do the Spanish eat babies? And then it says probably.
Stories about Spanish cruelties in Cuba, the American people got upset. As such, the people and the press wanted to do something about it, but McKinley wasn't too keen. It wasn't until the Spanish ambassador's criticisms of McKinley were made public that he opted to send a warship, the USS Maine, to Cuba in order to protect American interests. In February 1898, whilst in Havana Harbour, the Maine exploded, and irrespective of what the cause of the explosion was, the American people wanted blood. So bad was the public fervour and pressure from opponent politicians that McKinley knew war couldn't be avoided. And so, on April the 21st, 1898, America did just that and declared war on Spain under the slogan of "Remember the Maine, to hell with Spain." Now Spain knew it was and declared war on Spain under the slogan of "Remember the Maine, to hell with Spain." Now, Spain knew it wasn't going to defeat the United States in a war, but chose to fight it anyway. Why? Well, there were two main reasons. The first was that Cuba, along with the also revolting Philippines, were the last major vestiges of the once glorious Spanish Empire. And the second reason was that the dishonour of immediately surrendering to the US was too much for Spain to bear. Its leaders preferred to go down fighting and lose with its honour intact. So how did said fighting go? It went amazingly well. For America. You see, America opted to fight the war on two fronts, one in the south in Cuba and one in the east, or to the west technically, in the Philippines. This was where...
This is in 18... That was recent. Like, thinking of it now, it seems really, really recent, right? Oh my gosh, so Philippines was part of this. I was thinking they were just gonna talk about like Spain or like the... was this like... Mexico, Cuba, Peru, like all those other places, but I didn't think we were included in this Spanish-American War. But it makes sense because Spain colonized the Philippines and then America came and now we are here.
One in the south in Cuba and one in the east, or to the west technically, in the Philippines. This was where Commodore George Dewey decisively defeated the Spanish fleet there at the Battle of Manila Bay. The US Army then landed and brought over the...
This is so interesting because I didn't think I was coming in today to learn about my own history, but I love it because I don't think I was paying attention in class. Yeah. Did I take Philippine history, to be fair with you? I don't remember taking Philippine history.
Decisively defeated the Spanish fleet there at the Battle of Manila Bay. The US Army then landed and brought over the exiled Filipino revolutionary Emilio Aguinaldo, who promptly declared Filipino independence. To bring the Philippines back into the fold, the Spanish launched a major fleet, hoping to dislodge the Americans. It was shortly after this that the US captured Guam. And by captured, I mean they turned up and gave off a warning shot. Now, traditionally, when nations were at peace, they would fire off a salute to each other. The Spanish garrison there didn't have any ammunition, and so the governor, who didn't know he was at war, promptly apologised for not returning the salute. The island was captured with no fighting. As for the Caribbean theatre, the US started by seizing some place in southern Cuba called Guantanamo Bay. It later landed an expeditionary force here and pushed inland. The Spanish retreated but were extremely adept at defensive tactics, and so American progress was slow until the primary American force landed on July the 1st. This was the force that contained the famous Rough Riders Volunteer Army led by a certain Theodore Roosevelt. The Americans advanced inland and fought a small Spanish force at the infamous Battle of San Juan Hill. Here, the Spanish were able to inflict many more casualties on the Americans than they themselves suffered before retreating. And in case you're wondering, it was this battle that made Theodore Roosevelt a household name. July the 3rd saw the largest naval battle of the war, the Battle of Santiago de Cuba, during which the Americans obliterated the Spanish fleet there. It was after this that the Battle of Santiago de Cuba, during which the Americans...
What is this? Is like a sunken ship? Or is this blood? I think it's synced, right? Yeah, it's synced.
Obliterated the Spanish fleet there. It was after this that the aforementioned relief force that was being sent to the Philippines was promptly turned around because the Spanish coast now lay undefended. Puerto Rico was invaded in late July, but Spanish forces there were incredibly difficult to dislodge. By mid-August, the Americans had captured Santiago, the second largest city in Cuba, and in the Philippines the Spanish governor had surrendered as well. With their forces on the run and much of their navy sitting at the bottom of the ocean, the Spanish sued for peace before the Americans could march on Havana. In December, a peace treaty was signed in which Spain lost Guam, the Philippines and Puerto Rico to the United States.
20 mil left at. I see.
Cuba became a U.S.
That's why Philippines is so like Spanish influence, like race, like the people. Some people have a lot of people have Spanish blood, meaning they're mixed with like Spanish ancestries. And also some of the architecture here that haven't been kind of like demolished after Spain colonized us is still very like alive and well, like intramurals, we have vegan. So there's a lot of places here that have that Spanish influence. And it's interesting to kind of like look back in history and kind of like trace how this things that we see now in the present day came to be, right? What am I doing with my theatrical hands? But anyways, let's continue.
Signed in which Spain lost Guam, the Philippines and Puerto Rico to the United States. Cuba became a US protectorate until 1902 when it gained its independence. In conclusion, the war had gone exceptionally well for America, which is why the Secretary of State John Hay called it a splendid little war. America's naval prowess were made clear to the world, and not a great deal of soldiers died in combat. Of course, lots of soldiers died from disease, but since yellow fever didn't wear a Spanish uniform, they didn't count. And for Spain, the soldiers who fought on Cuba and the Philippines had shown themselves as being some of the best in the world. But of course, the shock to Spanish who fought on Cuba and the Philippines had shown themselves as being some of the best in the world. But of course, the shock to Spanish society for losing the colony of Cuba was absolutely massive. The Spanish Empire was dead. The American Empire was born. I hope you enjoyed this episode and thank you for watching, with extra thanks to these patrons you can see on screen for their continued support. And an extra special thanks to James Bisonet, David Archaeologist, Azarka Flash, Danny Maloney, Party Boyko, Kulin Castleman, Rob Waterhouse, Chris Wicker, Gustav Swan.
That was very interesting. I really was like coming into this video unexpectedly. I really thought we're gonna stay in the South American part of history. I didn't think Guam nor the Philippines was going to be included. But anyways, this was very interesting, very like straight to the point. And let me know if you want to see more of these type of like videos as well. If you like this video, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.